speed of the streets, but aching for her kids, sets the tone for her story. When asked where she grew up, Nikki recalls Avenue, California. Her memories of family are marked not by warmth but by violence. She had both parents, but her father was severely abusive, drinking until blackout and attacking her mother. She remembers one incident where he accidentally struck her, and that became the breaking point. Her mother snapped under the weight of years of violence and, in a moment of desperation, stabbed Nikki's father multiple times. Nikki was just 7 years old when it happened. She did not see it directly, but she heard the chaos, the violence unfolding in the same house where she should have felt safe. Her father did not survive. The aftermath tore her life apart. Her mother was sent to prison, leaving Nikki to be placed in foster care. At 7, she was thrust into a system that never felt like home. Growing up as an only child, she was used to a kind of independence, but foster care stripped that away. She longed for escape, and by 13, she ran. On the streets, freedom came at a heavy price. She met an older man, a pimp, who promised to care for her and provide everything she wanted. What he actually gave her was exploitation and a path that would shape the rest of her life. By the time she was 14, she was pregnant. Her baby's father, the pimp, was in his late 20s, far older than her. At just 15, Nikki gave birth to her son. But she was still a child herself, lost and vulnerable. Drugs entered her life, starting with meth, and soon her child was taken away for child endangerment. By 19, she became pregnant again, this time with her daughter. For a period, she fought hard, getting clean and managing to stay sober for about 11 years. Her daughter is now a teenager, but Nikki admits with visible pain that she no longer has custody. The father is raising her because Nikki relapsed, this time into fentanyl. Fentanyl has taken a deeper hold on her than any substance before. She avoids being around her daughter when using, which is nearly every day, and her voice cracks when she describes her daughter's autism and beauty, knowing she cannot be the mother she wants to be. Nikki circles back to the present moment. Now I'm out here. I've been homeless for a while now. I kind of like it. It's the fast life. But almost immediately she breaks. I cry a lot because I miss my kids. This conflict, this painful duality, is the heartbeat of her story. Freedom on one side, unbearable loss on the other. Nikki admits that her current drug of choice is fentanyl. Her voice hardens as she describes how it has woven itself into her life. At first, she sought out meth, but fentanyl offered something more, something that numbed everything. She describes the first overdose not as terror, but as a strange peace. It was so peaceful, she recalls, her eyes softening. I liked it a lot. That moment became a trap. The sensation of release, of total quiet from the chaos inside her, made her chase it again and again. Now, she cannot count the number of overdoses she has had. Her tolerance is so high that even death eludes her, and she confesses that sometimes she longs for a final overdose that will carry her away. But fentanyl is not just an escape, it is also the wedge between her and her children. She refuses to be around her daughter when she is high, which means she is absent most of the time. When she speaks about her daughter, her tone softens completely. She calls her beautiful, mentions her autism, and admits how much it hurts not to be there for her. She knows her children need her, especially her daughter, but the drugs chain her to the streets. For survival, Nikki admits to stealing. That's how I'm making my money right now, she says bluntly. She slips into stores, takes what she can, and sells it later. Sometimes she dates men for money, but mostly she relies on theft. It is a dangerous, exhausting cycle, but she does not see another way. Living in a tent downtown by Stafford and 7th, she endures the filth of rats, even in the most degrading conditions. Her relationships with her family are fractured. She has no contact with her mother, who struggles with schizophrenia. Nikki recalls the last time she spoke to her, and the memory still unsettles her. Her mother rambled about death, about needing to kill others. Nikki shakes her head, describing how painful it was to see her mother lost in delusion. It was horrible seeing her like that, she whispers. I just don't want to be around that. Her regrets pile up as she talks. Not being there for her kids, falling back into drugs, letting abusive men into her life. But drugs give her the numbness she craves. She describes the pull of fentanyl with disturbing honesty. The love of the feeling, the way it makes everything quiet, the longing to overdose. At times, she acknowledges the death wish beneath her words. Yet, each time she is revived from an overdose, her thoughts turn back to her children. They're the thread that keeps her from letting go completely. Even in her most broken state, Nikki knows what she fears most, that her children will not want her, will shut her out completely. The thought terrifies her more than rats, more than violence, more than the streets themselves. I don't want to lose them, she says, her voice trembling.
You can do whatever you
When asked about her past relationships, Nikki opens another door to pain. Violence was not confined to her childhood, followed her into adulthood. She describes being in a relationship with a man for 2 years who beat her daily. The abuse was so brutal that she suffered a hairline fracture in her skull after being struck with a police flashlight. She lists the places on her body where the bruises never had time to heal before new ones appeared. And yet, she stayed. The cycle of violence felt inescapable, a dark echo of what she had witnessed her mother endure. The pattern began early, when at 13, she ran away from foster care and met the older man who became her pimp. His control over her life shaped her future, introducing her to exploitation, to pregnancy far too young, to drugs, and to a false sense of belonging. When he left for a time, Nikki entered another relationship with a man who was just as violent. His rage left scars on her body and her mind. Eventually, a friend intervened, taking matters into his own hands, and that man was killed. Nikki speaks of it quietly, as though the memory itself is dangerous to say aloud. But the violence did not end there. Later, she found herself with another man who also hit her. Although she stood up for herself more than before, the damage was already written across her life. I blame my mom for that, Nikki admits. For me allowing guys to do it to me. Watching her mother accept years of abuse taught her, unconsciously, to normalize it, to tolerate it. And now, Nikki fears she could snap the same way her mother did. Fears that one day her own rage could lead her down the same path of destruction. She connects the threads clearly. The trauma of her childhood, her mother's murder of her father, the instability of foster care, the predation of an older pimp, the descent into drugs, the repeated cycles of abusive relationships. Each chapter of her life bleeds into the next, forming a pattern that feels impossible to break. And yet, beneath all of this darkness, Nikki insists she still has goals. She dreams of getting clean, going back to school, and even pursuing chemical engineering so she can create her own cleaning products. She talks about wanting housing, something stable, something that is hers. The words feel almost fragile as she speaks them, as if she's afraid they might shatter in the air. Her honesty is raw. She admits she likes some aspects of the streets, the freedom, the fast pace, but she knows it is a horrible life. The filth, the rats, the cockroaches, the constant fear. It is no life for anyone. And yet, it is the only one she knows. When Nikki reflects on her life, her words carry a heavy mix of regret and fragile hope. She admits openly that her deepest regret is not being present for her children. Her son is now a teenager. The streets. I don't want to lose them, she whispers. And in her tone, it is clear that this fear eclipses all others. She is also afraid of relationships. Every serious relationship she has ever entered has been stained by violence. For her, love has always been tangled with fear and pain, and so she has chosen to remain single. I'm scared of being in a real relationship, she admits, because in her experience, real relationships mean abuse. It is a choice born from self-protection, even if it also means loneliness. There are smaller fears too. The rats and cockroaches that infest. The streets where she sleeps in a tent downtown. These simple creatures embody the ugliness of homelessness for her. The filth, the crawling reminder that she's living in a place no one should have. To endure. And yet, she still dares to dream. Nikki talks about wanting to get clean, to enter a program that will help her escape fentanyl's grip. She dreams of going back to school, of studying chemical engineering, of making her own cleaning products. She envisions a future where she has housing, something stable, something that belongs to her alone. She knows she cannot function in school while living in the chaos of the streets. And she acknowledges that housing is the key that could unlock the rest of her goals. Her honesty about the contradictions in her life is striking. She admits she likes certain aspects of street life, the freedom, the fast pace, the way she can survive by her own wits. At the same time, she despises it, the dirt, the danger, the constant threat of overdosing. It's horrible, she says plainly. It's a really horrible life. She has also learned lessons through suffering. When asked about the most important thing she has learned in her life, Nikki answers simply, not to let people take advantage of you. She emphasizes the importance of standing up for yourself in a world that is often cruel and unforgiving. These words, spoken from a life of deep wounds, carry the weight of truth. Even in the midst of despair, Nikki shows that fragile thread of resilience, the belief that her life does not have to end. Here on the streets, that thread is thin, but it exists. And sometimes that is enough to hold on to. Nikki's story is a mosaic of tragedy, resilience, and contradiction. She is a woman shaped by violence, starting with the abuse she witnessed in her home as a child. Her mother's desperate act of killing her father set into motion a chain of events that thrust Nikki into foster care, where loneliness and neglect carved deep scars. By the time she was a teenager, she was already ensnared by the pull of meth and fentanyl, the loss of custody of her children, repeated overdoses. There are moments when her voice softens, when a longing for a different life flickers through. She dreams of sobriety, of school, of designing her own cleaning products, of having a home that is hers alone. These dreams may seem fragile against the harsh reality of her present, but they're dreams nonetheless, proof that hope has not been completely extinguished. Nikki knows her greatest regret, being absent from her children's lives. She fears their rejection more than she fears death, more than she fears the streets themselves. This truth grounds her. Every time she survives an overdose, her thoughts return to her kids, the one she longs to guide, to protect, to love, even from distance. Her life is not a simple cautionary tale. It is a testimony to the complexity of human survival. She is both broken and unyielding, trapped and free, numb from drugs yet pierced with longing. To hear her speak is to witness the brutal honesty of a person who has endured too much, yet still dares to imagine something better. As she closes her story, Nikki leaves us with one lesson learned through pain. Don't let people take advantage of you. Stand up for yourself. These words, simple and direct, are more than advice. They're the distilled essence of a life spent battling forces larger than herself. Her story does not resolve neatly, and perhaps it never will. But it lingers, demanding we acknowledge the humanity in those we pass by on the streets. Nikki is not invisible. She is a mother, a survivor, a woman still carrying the weight of her past and the fragile hope of a future. And in her contradictions lies the truth. Life on the margins is messy, heartbreaking, and yet still profoundly human.